What's up, guys? I was driving around. It's like the coldest day ever today, and I started thinking about what would be good coming up on the channel. And I started thinking about how this is like the 20th year lifting, and I was thinking about what I was like looking for when I started lifting. And I mean, obviously, I wanted to get bigger, stronger, but I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of break down the one thing that I was kind of worried about doing when I was at that age and when I was starting, and that was building arms. The one thing that you always think about when you meet somebody, you know, the first thing, especially if it's nice outside, is they got a tank top on or something. You know, it's like, you know, the arms are the first thing that stand out. So I thought it would be cool to do like a complete episode on building arms and just break down every movement, break down why we're doing it, and also frequency, because I remember when I was first starting to build arms, like I was doing it like every other day, and I think that's a good way to go about it. So this episode will be a little different, but I think it's going to be super helpful. And this might not be the only episode that we do on a specific body part like this, but this is going to be something that you're going to want to watch, save it away, and use it as a blueprint. So let's get into it. Okay, let's discuss what today's going to be. Today is going to be a complete breakdown of anything and everything arms. Arm day. A lot of people don't do an arm day. I think that everybody's different, obviously. Everybody's got their own routine about how they go about things. But I think the majority of people do some sort of split where their arms are added to their workout. Like you'll hear a lot of people go, oh, well, I hit chest and triceps on Monday. Okay, so your triceps are the second part of your workout. And then you hear people say, well, I'm going to hit back and biceps. Well, so the biceps are the second part of your workout, which is interesting. And then I know there's some people who they don't do either. They think that a pressing motion is a good amount of triceps, and they think that a pulling motion is a good amount of biceps, which I think for health reasons, as far as like just maintaining what you have, I think that's probably fine. You do hit some biceps in any sort of pulling motion for back day, and you do hit triceps for pressing, any sort of pressing. But let's talk about the other side of that coin. Let's talk about building arms. As far as really getting into, hey, I want my arms to be bigger. Hey, I want my arms to look different. And what I would tell people when it comes to that is you need an arm day. Because if you do an arm day is your focus. Where, you know, if you hit chest and triceps on Monday, you're probably there more for the chest. And by the time you get to the triceps, your tank isn't at 100%. You're not giving 100% effort to triceps. And then it goes the same for biceps. You get there and you hit your back movements, a lot of different pulling motions, a lot of different stuff like that. And by the time you get to biceps, you're like, you know, we've already done a lot. Maybe my biceps are a little tired. So they never get the full load. They never get maximum effort. So I would recommend one of two things. You do an arm day, which would be bicep, tricep, or if you just are stubborn and you refuse to switch that up, I would tell you to try to change up that split where you would hit bicep then back instead of back and biceps. So when you get to the gym, 100% of your focus is on your bicep. So I guess it all depends on what your goal is, but today we're here to talk about building some monster arms. That's what we're here for today. This is going to be your guide to going into summer say, hey, I'm going to build some huge arms, and I don't care about anything else. Like everything else is going to take second fiddle to it, and we're gonna hammer arms. Now frequency, if you're doing an arm day, everyone is different. Everyone is different. When I was younger, I felt like I could hit arms every day, and as I've gotten older, I don't know if the reason I can't do that anymore is because of I hit them harder now. I thoroughly hit arms where I'm like, oh man, arms are cooked. Or is it because you recover faster when you're younger? Or it could be both. It could be both. So what we're going to do is you have to figure out your frequency. I would say that most people, because arms are a small muscle group, technically they're a small muscle group, I think you could get away with doing them if you were really serious about building arms. You probably could get away with doing it every other day. Or if you have like the rest of your split figured out, where you're like, I don't really want to mess with that, mess with this, that's fine. You could hit bicep, tricep on Monday, bicep, tricep on Thursday, and bicep, tricep on Sunday. You could hit arms 3 times a week. And I think that depends on where you're at and what you're looking to do. And a big part of that is going to end up being what the main goal is. Because obviously, whatever you're really focused on, what you're hitting the most is what you're trying to build. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go over 5 of my favorite bicep exercises, 5 of my favorite tricep exercises. I'm going to explain why, and we're going to break them down after we list them. So, let me see here. The first bicep exercise that I think is key to having a good bicep day would be preacher curls. Okay? Preacher curls. We'll go over this list zoomed in here at the end. You can deal with my awful handwriting. Preacher curls. Now, as far as preacher curls go, everyone's different as to how they like to do them. Some people like to do them with a curling bar. Some people like to do them with a dumbbell. My favorite preacher curls are with a cable. I did not start off doing cable preacher curls in my younger age. I always started with like a regular easy bar, which I think most people start out with. But after years and years, you realize what works for you. And I think you get the best pump out of cable curls, preacher-seated cable curls. I don't know if that's because of the constant tension. The cable's pulling away from you, so you're constantly fighting to get it back here. But if you, I would say that's probably my number one. And I think most gyms aren't set up for preacher curls with the cable. You probably got to bring your preacher machine over to a cable somewhere. And I think that is probably like the lost exercise in the gym. Because I think most people can't do preacher curls on a cable. Most of your cable machines at your Planet Fitness or at your wherever gym that you go to probably doesn't have the preacher curl set up to where you can do it with the cable. And I think that's a huge miss. I have it set up here where I can run the cable down from the lat pull down machine and bring my preacher curl machine over. That is, I think in the future you're going to see that change. You're going to see either a mobile preacher pad or you're going to see some sort of preacher machine on wheels where you can move it over to the cable. Because that's a good one. That's a good one. You see, if you've watched some of our arm videos in the past, you'll see me and Ross will do the seated curl, where you sit down with it. That's kind of the same, but with the preacher curl, it's the same motion, but you're not moving your elbows. It keeps you locked in. So that's my number one for me. I mean, everyone's different, but if you were asking me, hey, like, what is your number one bicep exercise, I'm going to tell you seated cable preacher curls. And I don't think there's a certain level you have to be at to hit to do those. I mean, because most of the stuff is, you could start off as a young kid and you could set up the preacher curl machine and you could put, 10 pounds, 20 pounds on and just start practicing it, coming all the way down and freezing about 3/4 of the way up and holding it. And I think that would be probably the most beneficial as far as building biceps from the ground up. And so that's number one on biceps. Number two would be standing dumbbell alternate bicep curl. Let me write that down. Standing dumbbell curl alternate. And why I say alternate, you guys know I'm a huge fan of alternate arm stuff, where we can work on going one arm at a time for two reasons. One, you can really isolate each arm at a time, go nice and slow and focus on it. And the other thing is, while you're doing this arm's resting. And I think that's a huge game changer, because you can't do that on, you can't really do that on like a chest motion or, a shoulder motion. Nobody really does alternating side raises. So that's kind of a special thing that you should take advantage of as far as standing dumbbell curl. I think the rep range depends on who you are, but I think that if you start off with alternating dumbbell curls, you can go pretty heavy. Like if that's your first exercise of the day, you can really dig into that. And if it's your last exercise of the day, it's great because you can really squeeze on each arm, and it's a good way to finish. Plus with dumbbells, you can kind of go lighter if you're finishing off at the end of the day and really trying to sculpt what we're trying to build here. So that's on there for sure. That's definitely number two. And I'm going to piggyback off that. And I'm going to do dumbbell hammer curls. Now, hammer curls, probably going to get a little flack for this, because I know hammer curls are, I think it's because of the way you see people doing them in the gym. You see a lot of people like swinging like this. Yeah. Sure. But as far as building the look for your biceps, I think you have to hit hammer curls. And I would tell you to lean on the dumbbell hammer curls. You can do them with the rope, with the cable, and you're probably going to get a pretty good pump out of it. But if you really want to build the meat of the bicep, like if you want your arms to look that 3D look going into summer, I don't think you can skip hammer curls. It builds them a completely different way. It gives you the width of your bicep. And I know a lot of people don't even have hammer curls into their split. Like they hit some preacher curls or whatever it is that they hit. And that's a big mistake. I think you gotta add the hammer curls in and do them slow. Make sure that elbow is locked in. Do them just like you would a strict curl. So that's definitely on the list. So we started off with preacher curls, preferably with the cable for me as far as that goes. So I'm going to put cable in there. Standing dumbbell curls alternate. And then dumbbell curls with hammer motion. So your arms are like this, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. As far as the other two motions here, let's see. So we've hit preacher curls, we've hit standing dumbbell curls, we've hit dumbbell hammer curls, and I think a big one on here would be incline dumbbell bicep curls, incline. So we're going to have the bench tilted back where our arms are hanging. Now our arms are going to hang behind our body. And the whole point of that is not only are we going to stretch that bicep out, but we're coming from a completely different angle when we're doing it. incline dumbbell bicep curl. That will be a challenge for you if you've never done them, and then they're gonna hurt the first time you do them because you're not used to really stretching your biceps. Like if you stand straight up and down and you let your arms hang down, like most people don't walk around all day with their arms like this. Now we're going to the extreme. We're leaning back and they're really hanging behind us, and I think that they've gained a little ground over the last couple of years. You see a lot more people doing them, and for good reason. Like if you're looking to attack the whole entire bicep, the only way you're doing that is getting a full stretch, and that is key. That is key. Fifth bicep movement and last, as far as I'm concerned, would be the underhand chin up. And this has got to be very specific the way you do these. And if you can't do a chin up, you can go to the lat pull down machine, but those hands have to be here. They can't be here, they can't be here, they have to be here. And they have to be as close to your body as possible. Because as soon as we pull out here, we're activating lats, we're activating lower lats. That pull has to come straight here, and it should be almost, if you're wearing a hat, it should be hitting the brim of your hat. And we should be squeezing at the bottom, and then all the way back up, and here it should be as close to your body as possible. And I think that is a movement that does not get used enough because whether it's a chin up or a lat pull down, and it's in here, you can go heavy, and heavier than you can with a curl. So what we're doing is when we're getting in there for an underhand chin up with a chin up or the lat pull downs close, we can really load the bicep heavier than we can ever do with a curl. So I mean, we can do underhand pull downs with 200 pounds, and it's a completely different way of training the bicep. And so that's my top 5 as far as building your biceps. Like I said, cable preacher curls, standing dumbbell curls, alternating, dumbbell hammer curls, and those can be done in different variations. We'll go over that when we do them. They can be done straight, they can be done crossbody. Incline dumbbell bicep curl where we're leaning back, and underhand chin up dash close grip lat pull down. Okay, so that starts off that. Let's hop over to tricep. Tricep is the most important as far as the view of your arms. Like those are the 3 muscles that are the biggest. Try 3, buy 1 or 2. That will be something to think about. There's 5 total arm muscles that we're working on. So the first one that we're going to hop in on that I have written down for today is the overhead tricep extension with the dumbbell. So dumbbell's here over the head, and the reason we like this is because when we get to here, this is completely extended, okay? The key to good tricep movements is to get the most stretch out of the tricep. That's what kind of gets lost in an extension when people are young and they are just getting into the gym and they're doing these short little movements. They think that the pressing of the weight is the important part when really it's the stretch back up, which is what we're looking for. So overhead tricep extensions with the dumbbell. The dumbbell is definitely the movement that I would say is the most comfortable. You can take the easy bar and do overhead like this. I personally don't like it. I don't think that you're getting the same squeeze out of it, and also it bothers my elbows. That's just being honest with you. I'm sure that if you have better elbow flexibility and you're able to do it, go right ahead. But the dumbbell, you can go up in different weight increments. You can really focus on. And the other thing you could do is you could take a video of yourself and see how much further over time you're able to get behind your head with it, and then back up. But we'll go over that when we get to that exercise. And so number 1 would be dumbbell tricep extension overhead. If it does bother your elbows, you can work on different variations of it. I know that to some people it's kind of a pain, but definitely something to work on. The second tricep movement that I would not miss would be skull crushers. Now, as you've seen in previous videos, I don't generally do skull crushers the way most people do skull crushers, I think. Like when I was younger, probably like 14, 15, and they used to teach skull crushers in gym class, they used to teach you to bring it, to your head, skull crusher, to your head and press. And, after years and years, I realized, like, it's a good movement, but it could be better. And then I started doing them over my head while I'm laying down. And that was like a game changer. I'd wake up the next day and triceps would be extremely sore, and I'm like, oh, so that's what we're doing. Because when you do them just to your head, you're limiting your range of motion. And when you're doing them over your head, you're really tearing that muscle on the way back. And that's good. That's what we're looking for. So we did dumbbell overhead extensions, skull crushers. My third one would be overhead tricep rope extensions. Now, the hardest part about the overhead tricep rope extensions, as you've seen, is just getting the machine to the point where you're here. But this is great because the weight is pulling down. Just like we talked about with the dumbbell overhead press. We're getting a stretch, and in this exercise, where you're like limited, where you're going like this, and you're going back up, the rope is pulling you down here. So your arms should be in a straight line all the way across here when you're doing the rope extensions. And if you don't feel like you're getting that far, well, then there's nothing wrong with recording yourself and being like, oh, I need to improve on this, I need to improve on that. And that's what's been great for me as far as starting this channel is I think that is something that I have been missing for years. Like, I'm a critique of myself, always. But I'm even more of a critique after I can sit down and watch it and be like, man, I don't like how I did that. Or, man, that was really good, we need to do more of those. And I think that's super important. Self-criticism to a certain level is important. I'm not saying to sit down and bash your whole workout because you got a workout in, and most people probably didn't. So you're doing well. But there's always something we can work on. There's always something we can get better at. And that goes for everyone at every level. And then the next thing would be, as far as triceps go, number 4 on the list would be any sort of V-bar tricep extension. Go to your gym and look through all your different attachments that they have and test them all out. We have one at the House of Swole that we really like. It's just a little bit of a V-bar, but it's not like the V-bar with the things on the bottom. It's just a slant bar. And as far as tricep goes, that is the best thing that we have found. And every gym has like a little hidden gem, especially some of the older gyms, where you're like, ooh, this looks old, but after I get done with it, I love it. And that's kind of the same way with the ropes. I have a new rope here that I use all the time for tricep extensions, and like, it's not as good as some of the old ropes. And I know people that aren't familiar with the gym are watching this and they're like, I don't get it. Well, that's exactly it. You don't. And neither do we. Just some stuff feels better when you're using it. Some of the older equipment feels better when you're using it. And that really goes for some of the attachments. Now, as far as the extensions, tricep extensions, that is something that is a must. But like I said, try every angle. Try the rope, try the V-bar, try the straight bar, and watch what you're doing. The one thing that I see people do that is a huge mistake is I see them moving their elbows when they're doing tricep extensions. Those elbows shouldn't move. It used to be that people said that, your arms come up too high, you're losing tension on the tricep. I think to a certain degree that's true, but as long as those elbows aren't moving, they're locked in place, you're stretching the tricep if you're in proper form. So you're coming down and you're coming back up, And if the elbow is still locked, the tricep is still stretching. So that's definitely something that we're going to go over today. We're going to go over it slow. As far as doing them for reps, all of these exercises for the triceps, I like to go a little heavier on the pressing motions with like the V-bar, obviously. Overhead with the dumbbell, I don't go extremely heavy. What I'm really working on is the stretch. Same with the rope over the head. But the extensions, where you can kind of stand over it a little bit and kind of get your locked in position, you can go heavier. And I think that's a good translation to whether you're trying to build bigger triceps or you're trying to build a bigger bench, bigger shoulder press. It's a good movement. So the final tricep movement that I have on here would be dips. I prefer to do weighted dips. Obviously, a wider grip in dips would be more chest and a little bit of shoulders in there. So you want a nice, tight, in-close grip with dips. And dips are, I heard somebody once say that dips are the squat of the upper body, and I love that. I absolutely love that. I think that's a great comparison because the legs in a squat are the pushing power of the legs, and the dips, no matter which way you look at it, is the pushing power of the upper body. And if you're not hitting dips and progressing in dips, you're really missing out. Because dips are one of those things where if you can do your body weight, then we can really start to dig into adding weight, changing grips. And I always see the dip machine at your local gym not being used, and I'm like, I just don't get it. I see it all the time. People not doing dips. I don't know if it's because it's uncomfortable or they're too hard to do, but I will never miss dips on a bench day or on a tricep day because that is as good as it gets. As far as with what dip machine is right, so you'll go to some gyms and some of the handles are out really wide, and I wouldn't say that that's ideal for triceps. I think you've seen in the Rashford barn, he built his own dip station, and that thing is perfect. Like, that thing is nice and tight on the sides of you. You go down, you go up, and you're like, oh, like that one's really tricep heavy. And like I said, weight vest, weight belt. If you can progress in dips, your triceps are going to grow. They're going to grow. So moving forward, what we're going to do is we're going to go over all these exercises nice and slow. And this is going to be your arm guide going into summer here. And like I said, if you don't have an arm day that's set aside for bicep, tricep, where that's your main focus, and your arms are struggling to grow, that's probably why. You need a day where you're locked in with your bicep, tricep, which is okay. And you don't have to do it all year. Maybe you're looking to grow your arms for a certain reason or a certain time frame, and that's a good time to throw a couple arm days in there a week. Plus, who doesn't like draining arms? I mean, arms is one of the funnest things to train. So let's get right into going over each exercise nice and slow. If you have any questions, we'll break it down for you. Let's get after it. Okay, number one on my bicep list was the cable preacher curl. Now, as you can see when I'm doing these, I'll get it set up here. Now, like I've said with this motion, if I were to drop a regular preacher bar right now, where would it land? It would land inside the hooks here. But if I were to drop this, it's going to pull that way. So what we're doing is we're getting constant pull on the bicep for the whole movement. We don't want to come all the way up here and rest. We want to stop about here. Okay? All the way down. And then as it comes back, it comes all the way this way. And that's a completely different feel than regular preacher curls where you come up, you kind of get a rest at the top. There's no rest with the cable. So this is why this is my number one, and we'll get 3 or 4 sets on this. And as far as weight goes, it all depends on your cable machine that you use at your gym. This one, 35 pounds feels smooth, which is crazy because 35 pounds is nothing. And then you add 10, so 45. But like the cable machine up at the House of Swole, like 120, 130 feels like what this feels like. Doesn't make sense. It's just the way different machines are set up. Some are plate loaded, some have the stack of weights. So make sure you kind of test out what your gym has and how it feels before you get too crazy into it. So this is our second set. And one other thing that I forgot to mention is, as far as if you do it with these small straight bars, it's important to find the one that pivots and rotates in the middle, so it can twist in your hands as you're moving it. So when you come up, it's moving here. Some of them that are straight across like a regular bar is going to be very uncomfortable for your hands and your wrists. Okay, last set, we're going to go up, we'll go up 5 pounds. Should be a good amount. And what I'll do is I'll give you guys a little bit different perception of how this is being done. We'll just change the camera angle here a little bit. There we go. Just so you can get a good idea, good view of what we're doing, just so if you decide to replicate it, you can. Okay. So arms are out. Hands are probably about shoulder width apart. And we're coming to about here. And of course, we want to make sure 2 things. Our elbows are planted on this pad, and obviously we're not coming out of the seat. Our bottom is on the seat, our elbows are on the pad. And that'll wrap up cable preacher curls. My favorite movement as far as getting a pump and getting going early. So add that to your arm day. Okay, the next thing we have on the list is alternating bicep dumbbell curls. I know a lot of people warm up with these, but a lot of people should be worried about putting these into their working sets. This is a great exercise to get into as far as when you get warmed up. So what we're going to do, start here, we're going to rotate into each arm. And we don't want to swing our arms. We want to stop at the bottom. And the one thing that is a big misconception that I heard for years was a lot of people said, don't lean into the curl. But as you get going with these, it's a good thing to kind of lean into it and squeeze at the top. Okay. let's get into a little bit heavier. Get a good working set going here. We'll have one more set of these, and the one thing that I would go over that I can think of is I have a lot of people ask me, is it good to start in almost the hammer position or leave your arms like this the whole time? I believe it's preference. I actually like resetting at the bottom by twisting my wrist back to a neutral grip, but if you want to stay in here, just make sure that they're not swinging at the bottom. So they come to here, they come to here. Okay? But I prefer to reset in the neutral grip. Next thing on our sheet is dumbbell hammer curls. Now this could be debated till the end of time, the proper way and the best way to do them. I'm just going to give you guys what works best for me as far as building arms. Now, a general hammer curl, our arms don't stay here in this neutral grip. Okay? Now, I like to do, I'll do 6 reps of this. Nice and slow, stopping at the bottom. We're not swinging. See a lot of people at the gym doing this thing. No. We're locked in like a robot. Arms aren't swinging. And when I get to about 6, if I'm doing a set of 12, the next 6 that I do, I like to bring them over in the middle. Really exaggerate the hammer curl. Like I said, we're going to do 6 here and 6 cross. Okay, the fourth exercise on our list is incline dumbbell curls for biceps. So we're going to be hanging back here, and I'm going to get into the breakdown of what we're looking for in this. Okay, so if we're doing bicep curls and we're straight up and down, our arms are here. We come to here, we come down, we come to here, we come down. But are our arms really straight for the top of our bicep? They're really not. I mean, no matter how much you stretch at the bottom, you're still straight down. So with an incline bicep curl, we're going to hang back. Arms are all the way back behind us, so they should be in this position. And then we come up. And then all the way back down to where your arms are stopped at the bottom. We don't want to be swinging. And that's a completely different feel. I feel it way more up here than you would on a standing curl where the pivot is here. So we're right back here and we're nice and slow. Keeping still. Change the angle a little bit so you can see what kind of incline I'm talking about. It's not much incline. Okay, the last bicep movement to add for today is a close grip pull down or a close grip pull up. Okay, I will do the pull down because I think there's more people that will watch this video that maybe they can't do a pull up, but everybody seems to have a lat pull down machine. So I think it's a great place to start. Now my hands are going to be as close together as I possibly can. And when I bring this up, I want it right above my head. And when I come down, I want it right here. As close as possible to me. And we're doing it nice and slow, and we're extending at the top. And when we get to this point, we should feel like we're squeezing bicep. Okay, we're going to do one more set of that. And like I said, I'll even turn my head around so we don't hit the brim on the way down. That's how close we should be thinking about bringing this to our face on the way down. We should be directly underneath it. We should be in here, squeezing biceps. All the way out, let them extend, and come right to here. Hold. First tricep movement that we talked about was overhead dumbbell press. Okay, you're probably wondering what I'm doing with the preacher curl. Preacher curl machine is great to turn it around the other way and use it as a back pad where you can put your arms like this, get the extensions in. Where if you tip the bench up, you come back here, you bang your dumbbell on the bench, you can't get a full extension. So use this at your gym. It's a good idea. Now grip on this. I want to almost look like this when I put my hand around the dumbbell. And then if you want to switch either way, but should look like that. Okay, straight up and down, as far down as we can go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, these are really good long head movement. You show everybody your arm, this here, you want that to hang down, you want that to look good. This is perfect for that, and that stretch at the bottom really makes the difference. So what we're going to do, we're going to hop right into another set. I'm going to go up a little bit in weight, get a little heavier here, and let's hop. And that is a heck of a good tricep motion. Now, like what I said when I went over the exercises, you can do them with a bar. I prefer to not do them with a bar because it seems to bother my elbows a little bit. But if it doesn't bother you, I'll give you a little demonstration. Probably just inside shoulder width apart. And this would be the motion. I don't think you get the range of motion that you would get out of a dumbbell. I know a lot of people struggle with the grip on the dumbbell to get it just right. But if this is more comfortable for you, it's totally an option. Try to get that bar as far back here as we can. All right, and I think that... Now this is not going to be in every gym. So you would use your regular mobile bench that you can move around the gym. But at home I have a mobile bench that you can move around the gym, but I like to do my skull crushers on the leg extension machine. It is a slight decline, and it's easier for me to get my arms to this point with a little bit of a decline. So what we'll start is, so we're here, and we're here. Here, here, here. Okay, when you're done with that, come right down here and get 10 close grips in, squeezing at the top. Okay, and we'll squeeze out one more set of these. The one thing that when I do them, I know they're called skull crushers, but I don't ever cross back over my head. So when I start, I'm going to start here. And this is still above my head when I'm looking up. If this came straight down, it wouldn't hit me in the head. So I'm keeping it almost above my head the whole time. Okay. And then after you're 10 in, close grip. Okay. Okay, so this will be much easier to set up probably at the gym you go to. Overhead rope extension is fantastic movement. Get to that in just a second. And it doesn't have to be done heavy. It definitely does not have to be done heavy. Because we're not worried about... Oh, you know what? Overhead rope extensions will not be done in a heavy form. 35 pounds on this, so probably like on your stack at your gym's probably close to like 80 or 90. And the hardest part, as you can guess, is getting in this position. And then elbows tucked back, right overhead. Nice and slow. And I know a lot of people are going to say, isn't this the same as your overhead dumbbell extension? No, it's not. Just like the preacher curl with the cable is not the same as the preacher curl with the easy bar, this is pulling down the whole time. So as I sit here like this, it's pulling back instead of down. So great tricep extension. Okay. And then like I said, the hardest part is just getting in that spot. But at your gym, probably have the movable cable. Find a nice spot for it. And that is something great to add. Okay, now I look at these extensions the same way that I look at curls. We don't skip hammer curls, and we don't skip rope extensions, just like we don't skip standard barbell curls we won't skip straight bar tricep extensions. So best movement that we can do, I bought this when I bought this machine. It's not the same as the rope. I actually like it a little bit more than the rope because of the way that this is angled. But we're going to get a good posture going. And we're going to come to here. We're not going to come to here, right here. Keep that tension on the tricep. Out at the bottom. Squeeze at the bottom. Now, as you watch this video, maybe we'll put a marker on it. You should see my tricep go to the bottom here, and you should see it come up to the top here. See it come back down, and back to the top. Okay? And if you are really trying to lock in your triceps, take a video of yourself. Make sure that you have the proper form. It's hard to tell sometimes when you're doing an exercise if you've got the right form going. It's okay to take a video, look at it, and go, okay, I can adjust this, or I can adjust that. Now we're going to hop over to the straight bar. Straight bar obviously is going to be a little bit of an adjustment. It's going to be a little bit different of an angle. And the other thing you're going to have to do is figure out what feels comfortable to you width-wise. I still like to stay pretty tight in, probably 6, 7, 8, 9 inches apart. I don't have it out here. I'm not the full foot out. I think that that's probably too far because you can't rotate this out at the bottom. It's kind of locked in. So, like I said, somewhere in that 6 or 7 inch range. And what we're doing is, right here should be your tension point, right here. Okay? Down. As far as we can go. It's a little different than the rope because it's locked in place. And after you get comfortable with this, and you get, 10, 11 reps in, you want to change it up a little bit, you can also almost go into a skull crusher motion and hit them like this. But I do think there's great importance to hitting your triceps here and here, just like it's important to hit your biceps here and then here. So we're rounding out the arm. Okay, dips. So just like we finished up with our biceps, we finished them with either a close grip lat pull down or a close grip pull up. I feel the same about dips. I do believe you can build great arms with just close grip pull ups and dips. Now this machine particularly I don't love for triceps. That's why you see me hit it more on chest day, like with a bench, because it's a little wide. I like them in here for dips. But for the sake of this video, dips definitely, no matter what, is a tricep must. And as you get better at them, start adding weight vests, start holding a dumbbell in between your feet. And so we're here. We want to keep those elbows tucked at our side the whole time. So there. And there's a couple different variations. I like the dip machines that you see sometimes at the gym where the handles move, so you can like slide them in or out. Those are absolutely gold. Or if you have some sort of different dip setup. That's the nice part about dips is you can kind of do them in all different angles. You can do them with a bench, but don't skip your dips. They're too good to skip. So that'll be the first set of that. Last set. And that wraps up arm day. The ideal arm day, in my opinion. As far as training your arms, I think there's like a weird gym stigma on getting a pump and leaving as far as arms go. And I think that's a huge problem if you're having problems growing your arms. Your arms should be trained with the same intensity that you train your bench press with or your legs with. I think a lot of people hop in, they go to the dumbbells, they do a couple sets of 20 pounds or something like that, and they got a good pump, and they're like, oh, we killed bicep. Yeah, you didn't. You didn't. You got a good pump in there, and that's good that you got good blood flow, but you get a good pump, picking your kids up and playing with them, or picking a pet up and carrying them around, you hold them like this. You got a bicep pump after a while. You're like, ooh, that doesn't mean you worked out biceps. Hit biceps and triceps with intensity. You shouldn't be talking, hanging out through the set. If you want your arms to grow, you have to treat them like you train everything else. And that's a big thing. And the pump isn't everything. What we're in here to do is to get blood in the muscle. But if you don't feel like you're having the best pump, it's okay. Like, that's not the end of the world. Like today, I don't feel like I got a super crazy pump going. Part of that is I've gone 4 days now without carbs, doing a little bit of a cut, some light carbs before your workout, but a good part of the pump is your carb intake and your hydration. If your hydration is off and you get in the gym, you aren't going to have the pump that you plan for in your head. And I think most of the people walking around are dehydrated. Actually, I know they are. A lot of my gym clients, I ask them how much water they drink, and what they think is a lot and what is a lot is two different worlds. And I see the same thing with my family, friends, especially if you go to the gym late in the day and you have time to hydrate. Like, really try to overhydrate. Especially if you're like really looking for an ideal pump day where you're like, oh man, I want to go in there, I want to have veins going crazy. You got to be hydrated or you're not going to have it. It just comes down to that. And yeah, so that covers that. If you have any questions about this arm day, I know we kind of did like almost like a walkthrough of it. Maybe later in the week, I'm going to hit this same arm workout, full intensity, House of Swole. We'll just go after it, and I think that'll be a fun video. And but this is the blueprint. This is the blueprint. I think that if you go through each of the exercises that we did today, so there's 10 total exercises. If you did 3 sets of whatever reps you can get out of them, it's a pretty good. That's a pretty good arm day. That'd be 15 sets for biceps and 15 sets for triceps. And if you do that every other day or every third day, your arms are going to grow. Your arms are going to grow. If your nutrition's on point and you're hitting arms 2 to 3 times a week in a separate day, you're going to be ready. Those arms are going to be huge. They're going to balloon up quick. And as they balloon up, as you get your arms more developed, you got to realize, hey, I got to up my game. Like, I got to up it every time I get in the gym. If I did alternating bicep curls with 35s for 12, let's jump up to 40s and see if we can get there. And if not, we get to 10, But you got to push yourself with arms.